Okay, my friends, Roger once again, Mudfossil University, a 2-minute quickie showing that the Sphinx was literally a living head. That, my friends, is the jugular vein, and that is the carotid artery, and that is the second carotid artery. They have an internal and exterior, and it's bleeding from up above. These pass blood in. The veins have no, this is the jugular vein, they have no squirting here and there. They just dump the blood back into your heart. These have little passages that shoot out blood all over. And let's just take a look at the anatomical model. Also, notice the eyes. And there is things in here that I fully understand this. This is the problem. The archaeologists and the people that are doing the research on this have no clue about anatomy. They just absolutely have no competence whatsoever in anatomy. I can't believe they have missed all these things. I mean, where do you see this? This is so obvious, it's unbelievable. It's just laying there in front of them. And the nose is absolutely a nose. You see that? That's the jugular vein. Now, it's like they got a hook hooking it up. It would be laying right there. Right in front of it is the carotid artery that is blowing out in front of it. So you got that solid tube, then you got the blown out tube, then you got the one that runs up above past the ear, and that's leaking and running down the side of the face. This right up here is the bridge of the nose, and it's open up in that area. So you can see them both at the same time. That's the bridge of the nose, and it's open in that area, and you can see right up into it. Just exactly what we're seeing at the Sphinx. Well, my friends, I did say a 2-minute quickie, but it's going to be a little longer than that, I have decided, because there is a little more detail that needs to be understood. Otherwise, it's just a quick claim, and everybody laughs and walks away. Well, let's see if you can laugh after I show it to you. And then let's see why this is avoided. This is our true history. I mean, you can laugh and walk around in circles and, oh, I can't understand this, I can't understand this, but never pay attention to somebody that does understand it. That really does not work for me. All right, so you just saw the jugular vein, and that's the artery, and that's the second part of the artery that runs up to here. They have to deliver blood everywhere, and then the vein just pulls the blood back to the heart, and then the heart pumps it through the lungs and all that business, and it gets new oxygen, and then it goes back again up the artery, and the artery pushes it through. Now, when you see these splits and you say, oh, that can't be real, yes, it is. It is real. You just have to understand the way the body fuses together, and it does. It fuses in blocks. I'm sorry, that's why you see all these flat plateaus. They break flat as a pancake, because that is the structure of bodies. I've studied this very well. And anybody, this is the problem. Nobody will engage in this same study. I'm trying to work with these guys now that are on the Science Channel, because a fabulous guy, Rob Nelson is the guy, and he's got a guy that works with him, and I'm kind of jealous that these two guys they look like they're having a hell of a good time. Anyway, I'd like to be engaged from afar, just to comment on this stuff, because otherwise they're never going to figure this out. They're looking for answers that just don't exist if they don't understand the Earth biology. It's just never going to have the answer until they start addressing this. If they can dispute it and say, Roger, you're crazy, your DNA tests aren't right, your CAT scans were wrong, your specimens don't hold up to credibility, everything was wrong, you're a liar, you're whatever you want to call me. If you can do that after seeing my evidence, well, then I'll go away. I've been called a fool 1,000 million times, and not one time has anybody been able to discount my evidence. It's just a strict dismissal of the information. So it doesn't matter if information is valid or not. If it's dismissed, who the hell cares? And that's what's happened. I'm sorry I keep going down this path, but it's annoying as hell. 10 years going on, and I spent a lot of money, I spent a lot of time. All I'm looking for is truth. I don't care about any profit or anything, making any money. I just want it to be shown and understood. I want to know what the hell life is all about before it ends, which it will for all of us. And I can see the blood, I can see all the anatomical models. This was our ancient past. There was giants, there was gods, there was all the things that they said there was. Now it's up to you to make your decision. But if you never understand that, your decision is based on somebody else's denials of reality. All right, let's pay attention to the details. This right here is an unusual situation. That's what's called the maxillary artery. And I believe there's one on both sides. And this is the throat area here. Now, this is literally, I believe, skin. They may have coated it with a little something here, a little something there. But underneath the skin is a layer of this interstitium. And this is the top layer of the interstitium. It goes kind of deep in here. The interstitium goes quite, well, just like on your face, as you pinch your cheek, that's how deep the interstitium goes. That's why you can make faces and laugh and, raise your, your cheeks up and so forth, because there's fluid-filled bags in there with collagen balls and so forth. It's interstitium, and they are huge. This is just barely started to erode. You can see the eyes. You can see the obvious nose. Why would they carve that? Now, I heard, and I don't know if it's true or not, but Napoleon, when they came through there, they shot the nose off. I don't know if that's right or not, but I can see this looks like it might have been damaged in some unusual way, not like it just eroded. Now, which could have, they might have made a shot at it, I don't know. And they say, oh, these are all little bullet holes. Maybe they are. But there's still a ton of little pocks, which are the interstitium attachments to the skin. That holds on to the top layer of skin. Now, I'm going to show you that interstitium. Don't forget about the mandibulary arteries, or the mandibles. These are the arteries that feed the red blood into your muscles that run your face area, all up in this area. And that's why you see some little red blood running down here. There's all kinds of signatures here that I understand, and if somebody was right on site and was able to go right up and look at the areas that the signatures would present themselves at, it would be over. All right, see, that's the mandibulary artery that's coming down that we saw at the edge of the chin. All right, this is a very early picture, and you can see the eyes a little better in this one. I think they might have cleaned it up and whatnot, because the runoff of blood in different areas will have different colors. That's just the way it works. So your dark colors are normally from your vein blood, and your reddish light colors are from your oxygenated blood. And it looks almost like the tears are coming out in the corners. This was biological. I mean, I'm 100% certain of it. And this can be proven. It's not something that is a mystery anymore. And again, maybe I showed it in this one, but I'm sure I'm going to show it, or I have shown it, and you will see it, no question. I was the first to have human DNA extracted and tested and proven to be extractable and testable. And now it's being done, and now they're claiming that the FBI or somebody was the first one to do it. Well, no, we did it a year before. All right, that's the eye, and I can tell you right now, I'm almost certain that's a pretty valid eye. That is identical to what the bone structure of a nose is. This is the vein and artery, and below is another little cavity that has eroded away. There's all kinds of different ligaments and tendons and arteries and veins and so forth. I'll show you right now. No, I showed this before, I think, but that's that jugular vein. It lays this way. this is pinched back, hooked back out of the way so you can see underneath. But it would lay this way, and then I showed the arteries, how they leak and so forth, the two different artery branches. And then down here, there's all kinds of different cavities that open up between these things as they erode. And there's, some of the fleshy stuff, the muscle stuff, that erodes a lot easier than the tendinous stuff. And the arteries and veins, they're pretty durable. Blood erodes, but it seems to preserve very, very well. It erodes and runs off and so forth. But the blood itself preserves very, very well. And I mean very well. Look at this. This is this is a lung. That's a lung. And I mean no question whatsoever that's a lung. You can see the alveoli and everything, and every one of those blood spots literally leaked blood out, leaked blobs of blood. I will show you. But there's a lot that we have to learn to at least discuss and not just dismiss and run away from and hide. Literally, that's what's happened. It's hiding, because the evidence I have is very, very hard to dismiss out of hand. Let's put it that way. That's what's been done. All right, now that's that blood that came out of there. Now I did a blood study. I got a really fancy microscope, and I looked at it. What does it mean anything to me? I can't do anything with this blood other than look to see if it's different than the giant blood. Now the lung that I showed you, this lung right here, is normally about the size of a normal human lung. So this blood should be about the size of a normal human blood. Now, they have just found gigantic viruses that they say are from the human, or in our eukaryotic line, which is a human, the same as a human. And it was before us, and they're giants. Now, was the blood giant? I can't find any giant pizza-looking blood. I find all of the blood looking the same. And I tested the ones I have here, but the biggest giant I have on my own property here, and I have it right on my own property, is about 200 feet tall. So I didn't see any big difference right away, so I just dropped it. But there are places all over the world that these giants are just gigantic, and somebody can do that study on it. I have somebody else do that study. I got plenty of things to do. The blood is coming out everywhere. You can find it anywhere you want. You cannot get a rock without blood. It's, you can't get rid of blood out of a rock. You can't get a rock without a blood out of it. You can't, something like that. All right, there's that lung I just showed you, and there's a lung, anatomical picture of a lung. It's identical. And then they have these lobes, and this is a lobe. And there's another lobe here, and that's this lobe right here, and that has that red flap that at the bottom, that little red flap. This still has its coating around the lung. It's like a rubber bag that opens up, and it has to expand and close. That's what these fabrics are. These fabrics are on every part of your body. It's called interstitium. In this case, they named this particular place pleura, which coats the lung. But it's really interstitium now, they call it, because it's nothing more than a bunch of little balls on straps and fabric that allows it to go back and forth this way and that way and pull and everything. But the balls are the anchors, and everything comes back. I discovered it. And now they just claim, you go look it up, interstitium, a new organ they just discovered. They claim they discovered. I discovered it in 2014. Gil Hadley and I did. Anyway, this leaked this blood all over. That's blood. That's blobs of blood. That blood literally was on my counter. Right? That's after I took it out of the ground. This is what happens when you take them out of the ground. Sometimes they are just saturated. Wait, you want to see something? Wait till you see this. All right, check this out. This friend of mine, Gary Evans, he's over in England. He's out walking around. He's looking, and he sees this rock. And it's just a chunk of mud-looking rock. And he sees this, and he's thinking, well, what the hell is this? But other than that, it's just a rock. So he brings it home with him. So he gets it home, and it's starting to dry out, and he's seeing this, regular rock-looking sort of a encrusted mud And then this happens. It opens up and it's a lung. Where do you see it when he starts to look into it? He gets a little... And anytime you see black and then the red, in a lung, that's exactly its function. It turns deoxygenated blood, which is Fe2O2, which has one less oxygen, into Fe2O3 by sucking in another oxygen and carbon dioxide. Anyway, that's how a lung works. It adds oxygen to your... Well, everybody knows that, I would think. Now, this is almost transplantable. I mean, look at this. Look at this blood just running out of it. Now, here's the key, though. And this is a lung, too. This one here, everything has been eroded out of it, and you have all these pockets left, which is the alveoli, and you have this big entryway here, which they all have, and then you have that flap down here, and I can still see the blood in this one. I have lungs coming out of my earlobes. Now, the key to this, though, is he found his in a saltwater mud flat. Now, watch mine. That's his. Hold on. Here it is. This is the one I have here. Now, you see this? This is literally solid rock, and it is completely coated with what they call feldspar, feldspar is nothing more than the fabric of life, which is the same collagens, keragens, those little balls, the interstitium, the stuff that I discovered personally myself before anyone else in the world. So, now, what happens though in his case, his lung just deteriorated into dust because it was so long in salt water. And then, oh, Roger, so what? Well, salt water is so invasive that it breaks down the molecular bonds, and when you dry it out, it's just dust. Now, mine was in salt water just long enough. Everything I have here is so perfectly preserved. It's unbelievable. I mean, the bones are just absolutely flawless. Periosteum is still on them, the cartilage, the bone marrow. I mean, at 100%, just like they came out of your body. Now, here's what happened to his. All right, so I said it was Gary Evans, right? I hope I did. And anyway, he's a friend of mine over in England, and this is the lung. This is after, I don't know, maybe a week or two only. Very rare, very short time afterwards. The salt has created such an invasive molecular destruction that as soon as it dries out and the water goes away from it, it turns into dust, and that's what happened. That's why you find mud. that is actually going to be mud. If that was out in the environment, it would be mud, and that's because it came out of that salt flat. Now, mine is never going to turn into mud, ever. But this just had enough time to preserve, and then it had to be flushed with fresh water. Like you preserved a pork ham or something, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And I mean, I have so much stuff coming out of my ears, it's just ridiculous. And again, I have stuff that's DNA certified and all that. And they will never ever understand the earth until they understand the creatures that were here, the sizes of them, what they left behind, and how it's affecting us today. And specifically, I'd like to work with this guy, Rob Nelson. He's trying to understand Secrets of the Underground, it's called, on the Discovery channels. They're absolutely fabulous. They are the best place to learn anything anymore. I think I got a little, hold on a second. All right, now this is absolutely unbelievably cool. Now, looks to me like it's an Egyptian head. Now, it could be any kind of head, to be honest with you. I don't know if it's Egyptian or not, but it sure has that look to it. But it was found in a garage in New Jersey, buried in a garage. Now, and I can't tell you who it was. I did a video on it a while back, and the person, I mentioned a name, and I had to take the video down. They weren't happy yet. Anyway, here's something new that has been missed in anatomy, I found an interstitium, which is this. These are the balls, the interstitium balls. You see these little balls here? All of the fluid-filled bags are gone. We talked about that. They're gone, and all the rest is here. This was a different condition, and a very, very rare. This is the only time I've ever seen this, but it points out something that's unbelievable. Look at what happens at the lips. This is what, you see this? That's a shadow. That's a shadow. Shadow, shadow. These are like little, almost like little stakes coming out of the lips. You see them? Boom, 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 boom. And that's what makes your lips be able to do this kind of stuff. And it's on the top and the bottom, and it's also around the eyelids. This eyelid over here, see it? Boom, 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 boom. Now, were those where the hairs were, or is that what allows your eyelids to articulate and move around? Now, this one still has skin on it. Now, if it's skin, I don't know. Or did they put some kind of a makeup on them when they died and they put them away? But I can guarantee you, there's no question whatsoever, that is 100% real. And I have a ton of shots from it. So let's go through them. Here's the neck, right there. There's the blood supply. And this is, I believe this is a tendon. And there's one on this side too, but the artery is more prevalent on this side. And that's the neck. And under here, you can actually see, remember I told you about the mandibular artery? These are them. On this thing. You see it? It's either there or there, one or the other. But this is all anatomy. This is all anatomy, no question whatsoever. You see that? Look at this head. That's how big it's small. And that sure looks like it's Egyptian looking to me. And look at how these cuts are in here. But that's, that's natural. This is natural. Now, I don't know, you know, and again, I can't tell you who this belongs to, and I can't get a hold of them, and this is just a done deal. All I can show you is what I have here. And unless they get a hold of me and they say, yeah, I'm willing to do something, but I don't think that's going to happen, but who knows. And there it is. You see it? Very strange. And there's the neck going down the back. And these are the holes, and you know, these are the kind of things that are anatomical. There's no question what this is. And there it is, you know, with a lot of shadowing, which is nice. It's good to get shadows on things so you can see them in different ways, but that is what interstitium is. There's another shot of it. Had some kind of little earring. That's the other side. You can see it's an elongated skull. And it depends on how it was buried. You see this side isn't as washed out as the other side. The other side was probably down, to believe it or not. And this side was up. Or the other way around, I'm not sure. But one area can be completely different than the other side of the same creature or the same body part, which is the case here. There's nothing eroded back here. It's almost perfect. And everywhere else it was like unbelievably eroded. Well, the back area here didn't get eroded much at all. Now, whether that was down in the mud or whether it was up, showing up, I don't know. But some chemistry made it really eat up. This is the side that wasn't up, was eroded out. Somehow, some chemistry ate into these pockets. And I have tendons. That one tendon has all the fibrils and they're still white. And well, let me show it to you. All right, this is basically the most anatomically perfect book that I have ever seen in my life. And again, that's the vein, and that's the artery that we saw, and the Sphinx. And this right here, I don't know if you can see that from that distance. Let's come over here and home right in on that nose. All right, because I'm going to show you one that is in a head. That, you see this? These little, that's little cartilage that wraps around the nose. Now, again, this is as detailed and anatomically as you can get this particular book. But trust me, I know this anatomy extremely well. And this is as well as any anatomist can see. Now, and I've also worked with Gil Hedley, who is basically the top anatomist in the world on connective tissue. Now, there's a lot of anatomy to go over. Now, Gil he specializes in connective tissue, fascia, and so forth. That's how I got hooked up with him, and we discovered interstitium together. Now, just something I just noticed. Remember I told you about having the vein in the artery and so forth, and up here by the ear, it would leak out and come down, and that's where all that blood is going to puddle up there. There's no mysteries here. There's only dismissals. Okay, this is a head I got from somebody that I know, a buddy of mine called Heath, and this is and Heath, if you want to be known, I'll use your last name, but if not, I've had people get kind of upset at me, so I'm not going to until you say yes or no. Now, this is the interstitium. These eyes are literally, could look right into you. I mean, you can look into these eyes just like they were still alive. Now, this, I believe, is where the neck engaged, and it appears to have had some kind of a spacesuit on or something. I don't know. Now, there's another shot of it, and whatever that is, something looks like, because this is not part of this. This is something else, whether it was just in a matrix of it or whatnot, I just don't know. And these ears, I think, are ears. I think that's the ear hole, and I don't know. I just don't know. I have no clue. And I have never touched this, or I don't really engage deeply with most of the things that I'm displaying. They're just everywhere, and nobody's ever paid any attention to them. I have people coming to me every day, all kinds of things. I mean, look at this. It's insane stuff. New creatures. I have new species here, right here myself. Nobody will look at these things. So what do? You just sit around with them and leave them on your counter and say, "Oh, look, I have a new species. Oh, isn't that nice? Have a nice day." Okay, this is a trip down memory lane. This is one of the first things that was a real problem. We'll get into that after I explain to you what this is. This is a head that came from Kentucky. Jim Burchell and Arlie Caudle, I was in contact with them about this head. And I said, this is real, absolutely 100%. And they had a CAT scan down at University of Texas. It was a very, very bad experience for everybody. And that's the problem where it started with academia. But who really started the problem first? And we'll talk about that later. Let's look at what we got here. This is a head, obviously. Now, the guy's head got caved right in here. Anytime you see black and red, you can know that that's the hematite and the magnetite, and they're both iron products, which one of them is oxygenated iron and one of them is deoxygenated. The red is the oxygenated red blood. Now, bones in their marrow have black. I got one around here. So see this? That's bone black. You see that? That's black. And that's what happens to the bones. Now, inside the marrow. Now, the rest of the blood is red. You know, like that one there is something that's like a red blood blown out of there. Now, that's also biological, and I'm going to talk about that one later too. But you can see, I mean, I have them come all kinds of different. They're just like a piece of meat. When I first came out of the ground, you would literally walk up to that and try to cut it open. It just looked identical to a piece of meat. It still does, actually. And then put a little water on there, it will. That's the key to these things. A little tiny bit of water makes an enormous difference in the way they look. Look at that. Right away, instantaneously, it hydrates. So, I mean, it doesn't take more than a couple seconds. And then all of a sudden it looks like a piece of meat again. I'm telling you, the red blood is that's the key that preserves these things. Absolutely amazing. And they, well, you see what you see right there. It's not too hard to see. Anyway, and then that's whenever you put them in a microscope or anything, whenever you look at them dry first, put a little moisture on them, and then you'll see absolutely unbelievable change. Now, this is literally identical to what I have shown in the, you see these little stripes across here, across the guy's nose? It's a cartilage. There's his nose opened up. If you look at his eye carefully, you got to take time. Nobody carved this. This is eyeball. And listen to this. Now, remember I showed you, or I will show you, the Egyptian skull. You see this? And that, and that, and that, and that. All the way down each one of these little individual spots. You see them? I hope you can see that. That's what's in the Egyptian skull as well. Now, here's a new thing. The second thing that I've discovered, the first one to discover it, is that the lips and the eyelids too. You can't see it on this one, I don't think. But on the Egyptian one, you could see they were little individual, like almost like little fingertips coming out of there that could, I guess that's, like I said, to articulate. Now, you can see this red blood coming out down here. Obviously, it's towards the neck and the chin. You have those mandibular arteries and stuff like that. And this is very obvious what happened there. And this is a cap. This is some kind of a knitted cap. If you look real careful here, you can see the weave. You can see the over and the under and the over and under. My wife weaves. She never looks at any of my stuff. Maybe I should have her look at this and tell me if it's weaved. Yeah, I think I will. Well, that didn't go all that well. I'm saying this is woven. That's as far as I'm concerned. Or knitted, or I don't care what you call it. But anyway, this is what I'm looking at right here. Is that it's a woven cap. And this is a guy's head. And these are the little lip things. And we're discovering all kinds of things that people just won't pay any attention to. My wife's just, oh, I don't have any idea. She's never seen a thing I've shown, ever. It's been 10 years now. Some people just turned off, and they ain't never going to turn on, man. There is no way to change that. And don't try, because trust me, you see or you don't see. I thought you could make somebody see. You can't make somebody see. Impossible. But I do want to see, so I just saw something myself. While I'm looking at this, I'm looking at all these little things that I talked about that are on the lips, and I showed on the, maybe I did or didn't, because I got lost again in this video, but there is an Egyptian head that has all of these little separations. But look up here too. Zoom, 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 zoom. Look at that. That is, if you look and see, but you got to just pay attention. Just take your time, but slow down. Take your time, look and see what you're looking at. And then you could be, then you look at the anatomy. Now, I don't think anybody knows about these either. Because these are things that give you the ability to make a separation of movements. Same thing here. Boom, 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 boom. Because you can make lips can go all kind of different ways. That gives you all kind of flexibility. And then, of course, the interstitium balls that I discovered that are the fleshy part makes you be able to move all around and then come back to where the balls were anchored to. Very elegant construction technique. I mean, God's pretty cool the way he does stuff. And I don't know, I think I showed you the cartilage in the nose. It's identical. It's identical. There's no question. And I got to be honest with you, I'm going to bring up a sort of a sore spot. Scott Walters, when I maybe already talked about this, because this has been a sore spot for 10 years, well, not 10 years with him, but 6 years or so with him. He said on TV, this is not real, this is a sandstone head. And I said, Scott, no, you're wrong. And we went back and forth for a couple of emails, and then he said, I'm the expert, and that was ended. And if I was you, Scott, I would apologize, my friend, because you are wrong. And I mean, it's played out now. And I've tried to contact him recently. I don't hold a grudge. I just want to get it cleared up. And I think the Discovery Channel or America Unearthed or whoever sponsors him should say, look, let's take a look at it again. Maybe the guy's right. That's what I'm asking for. I didn't say just bow down and say, ooh, yeah, Roger, you're right. No, I'm just saying let's take a look at it. Because I've got stuff here that cannot be dismissed, and that cannot be dismissed now. I know back then, yes, nobody was onto this. I agree. But that doesn't mean to just dismiss something out of hand, because I did present evidence. And I believe at that time, I might have already had my CAT scans and DNA and all that stuff. I can't remember now. It goes back quite a few years. But that is a sore spot. Because that led to, we had this CAT scan down in the University of Texas, and on the recommendation of Yale, because they wouldn't look at it until it was CAT scan, and then that ended up as the nastiest experience of this whole thing. It ended up police and lawyers called me, said, leave these people alone, get out of this. Don't bother them again. And that's just a fact. And then after that, I was just so far off in the left field that not a single person would ever return another phone call. Now, I don't know how that got around so quick, because after that, and originally the people at the universities would talk to me, yeah, you're an idiot. Why don't you talk to Yale? They're right down the street, because they're right down the road from me. They're 20 miles away. And I said, well, they won't really take a look at it. They said, well, of course, because you're an idiot. Of course they're going to look at it if you had anything valid. And I said, no, it's not that. It's just they won't look at it because they don't want to look at it. And anyway, it was an absolute nightmare. And I expected an apology from them, too. And they should apologize to you for not doing their job as teachers. A teacher should look at evidence. If there's evidence, you have to look at it. No evidence, no look. I have evidence. There's not a single thing I have ever left a word from my lips that didn't refer to something material that I could show and could be tested. And it's been ignored. That's really kind of disgraceful. In my world, that's a disgrace. So that's the way it is. Okay, here's the support for my claim that I was the first to have human DNA certified as being human. And I did 3 samples. Now, I extracted the samples from my stuff on my property. I am responsible for claiming what I sent to the lab was the DNA that I extracted under the most extreme clean conditions. And one of them, just because I have it right here in my hand, was from this lung. And any anatomist will understand that is a lung, and anybody that understands blood understands it's red. And we drill a hole right down into this area. You clean it up, you wash it, you clean it, you drill, you throw that stuff away, you drill again deep, you take that, you put it in a bag, you double bag it, you send it off. 3 different samples. 2 of them were giants, and 1 of them was this size, which was normal. The other 2 were very, very large giants. And this was 6 of 15, 5 years ago. And it came back, they were human. 2 sequences of the mitochondrial DNA. And that's all I had it tested for. And at this time, this is the first one I have it ever done. And I was being criticized, you can't do this, it's impossible. Well, they were wrong. I said, you're wrong. I got blood, I got blood, I got blood. I got blood coming out of there. What are you telling me? It's unbelievable. And I'm just watching a show. Well, I'll show you. Wait till you see this. It's incredible. And there's blood gushing from these things. You know, it doesn't get any funnier than this. You know, this is all research, but I got to find some kind of funniness in it. They found a tomb. And in the tomb, they had robbed the tomb, and everything was destroyed except they had found one head and two sarcophagi. And the head that was in the sarcophagi, they were trying to figure if it was the wife or the husband. And they both have the same name. It's like Billy 1 and Billy 2. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So they couldn't figure out whose head it was. So they figure, well, you know, now that we got all this new FBI technology, we're going to go to the FBI, get the FBI to tell us if it was male or female. Because there's a certain chromosome, it's a Y chromosome. If it's in the blood, then it's a male. So that's, but they found out they could get the entire gene sequence basically, and they don't understand. They see gush blood, and they're treating it like it's it's impossible to find blood in these things. Let me just play this for a second. I'm not sure I'm in the right place, but we'll find out.
Governor Jehudinat and of his wife, whose name was also Jehudinat.
The inscriptions show the couple are important people around 2000 BC, but the mystery of the head remains.
No one knew whether it belonged to Jehudinat, the governor, or to his wife.
Is it him or is it her?
Now, let me just, I'm not going to bother going any further, but you can see that blood is coming out of here. All they have to do is go into a bone, and inside the bone is going to be a ton of blood. I can see it running out of these things. It's just unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. They had to, some special thing, go up inside and take a tooth out. All right, here's their claim. We used PCR DNA sequencing, which is, I suppose it's kind of sophisticated. But what you do is you have to get a good sample of the DNA. And I did, because I know where, hello. Okay, this is the FBI's claim, and listen to this now. This is the head they found, and they're trying to match it to the body, and because they both had the same name, the wife and the husband. It's unbelievable. That's what they said.
The head of the mummy belonged to Governor Jehudinat or to his wife?
For the first time ever, the FBI uses a DNA sequencing technique new to forensics.
We had a really difficult situation, a situation that we wouldn't have been able to solve with all of our currently implemented technologies.
The new technology is called next-generation sequencing. It can examine the tiniest of samples.
So for ancient DNA, where you don't have a lot of DNA to start with, these are instruments that allow you to copy and sequence DNA that are very small and in very high throughput, so you have millions and millions of sequences.
But first, the FBI team must find ancient DNA in the skull, a nearly impossible task.
It's ridiculous. There's DNA everywhere. That's blood. There's blood everywhere. They didn't look at it. So it's not an impossible task. They just never even tried. So what they did was they went and took a tooth out.
They wouldn't normally have to work with 4,000-year-old DNA, but often they are faced with challenging situations.
Over the course of 4 millennia, time, along with the heat of the desert climate, breaks down the DNA in the head. But geneticists potentially face a far bigger issue.
They're talking about contamination by people touching this, touching that. Well, let me tell you something. You drill into the bone, you're going to find blood. They're inside of a tomb, mummified. My stuff was laying out in the woods. You drill into it and you get blood right out of it. Well, I'll show you. The blood comes out all by itself as soon as you dig them out. That's blood. It comes out of bones like this. These little bone foramen and the little cavities. The blood just bubbles right out of them. Now, if you drilled into there, there's no question whatsoever. You're going to find blood in there. It's not going to be tons of it. It's not going to be balls of blood like I showed on the lungs. Lungs are just saturated with blood. But bones are as well inside the marrow. And once you take the scab off, there's what they call fibrin underneath, which is this here. That's the clotting fabric, and then the blood. This is what it is. And then there's a vein and an artery in these bone foramen or foramen, however you want to call it. You see, the red part is the artery, and black is the vein. And they form in the cavities to feed, I don't know, they feed in or feed out, I'm not sure what. But all of this stuff is being missed. Blood just coming right out of them. You drill into virtually, you know, how they could miss all of this for so long and be such experts just absolutely blows my mind.